It is good to be back.
My man. You nailed it. You actually nailed it. I wasn't sure how well your delivery was going to be, so I'm proud of you on that one. You nailed that.
Fun times, my friend. So, Eric Tressler, joined by David Hastings.
Back at it again, baby.
First official podcast in my new home little studio here.
So don't judge us.
Pumped up about it. It's only going to get better and better from here, too. But that being said, we are here to talk some NFL playoffs. Week 1 of the playoffs. I'm happy to get kicked off. I wanted to get this kicked off for the start of the season. You know me. I've been talking about this for about the last 10 months now. And my goal is for the beginning of the season, but at least I'm here for the beginning of the playoffs. I'm pumped up about it. And with that said...
Real quick, though. Real quick. You said first week of the playoffs, but I know how much we both... When they rolled this out last year, how much we love how they now call it Super Wildcard Weekend. And then this year, we get blessed with a Monday night playoff game. See, I figured the best thing I could do is get him fired up from the beginning, because you fire Eric up from the start, it's going to be a hell of an experience for everybody involved. So those that are listening, you can thank me later when we wrap this up.
Super Wildcard Weekend is now is now a 3-day weekend?
3 days.
Because not only do you get your Saturday fun, not only do you waste your Sunday fun, but then you got to waste your Monday night too.
Especially
and again, it's not really wasted because, let's face it, it's the most entertaining thing you can watch. But at the same time, what the fuck?
Well, can we actually say that the most entertaining thing to watch on a Monday night is Philly at Tampa Bay? I mean, I'm just saying, out of all the playoff matchups, like they were like, here, we're going to give you the two teams that stumbled into the playoffs and say, here's your Monday night, and enjoy being tired tomorrow morning when you wake up.
Yeah, and without an A.J. Brown, too, so you have less talent to look at on the field, right? I don't think he's playing this week.
So, from my understanding, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are listed as questionable right now. Practices just started today. Neither one of them practiced today. With them, and I think today was more of a walkthrough light thing with them playing on Monday. I think they're treating it like a Monday night schedule. So I believe really you won't know about them whether either one of them are going to suit up until probably Friday or Saturday. So we still got some time on that one. I believe A.J. Brown is a lock to play.
Yeah,
I do think he's going to play, because from what I did hear, it does sound like the knee injury wasn't as bad as the game looked for Philly. But Devontae Smith's got that high ankle sprain, and every guy heals differently from those. But either way, I'll never root for...
Either way, they're downtown.
Yeah, and I'll never root for anybody to get injured, but I will always root for the Eagles to lose. So it's a very much of a conundrum.
I'm going to say it right now. I'm not only rooting for them to lose, I might be picking them to lose, too.
Oh,
because
boy.
they've stumbled in, but Tampa stumbled all season long. And to be honest, I kind of think that Baker Mayfield may want this a little bit more. And they're going to be in Tampa, and Philly's struggling. I get it. Philly should win this game. They're the better team. They were what, a couple
They started the year 10-1.
No, but not only that, but the way they finished last year. I mean, they made the Super Bowl. It's not like they're schlubs. They're ending the season like they are.
You ask their fans. I mean, the coaches should be fired. Hurts should be fired. I told people at the beginning of this year, and we were still doing this Sports Zone together when I said this. Jalen Hurts, to me, I think, has just as likely of a chance to be the next Carson Wentz for Philadelphia as he does to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I genuinely think his career can go either way, and the way they run him, that body, we saw it happen to Michael Vick, right? And they didn't run Vick the way they run Hurts, right? Like,
you say that, but then you look at the season Lamar Jackson had, and they run the hell out of him in Baltimore.
Yeah, but if you were going to pick, are you taking Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts?
I wanted Lamar. You know me from last offseason. I wanted Lamar Jackson as a Giant. I wanted the Giants to give up 2 first-round picks, and I didn't even care if they included Daniel Jones in the trade too, and sent it away and got Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is by far worth two first-round picks.
So then I believe you're going to take my point home.
Yeah.
if you had to pick who the Giants could trade for, and it's the same trade package, you're going to take Lamar Jackson over Jalen Hurts.
He's already won an MVP. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I don't think Jalen Hurts can throw a pretty ball when he's got time, or he can scramble. The 49ers laid out that game plan when they beat him, and it's been the same every single loss they had. All you got to do is rush for and keep him in the pocket, and he is an average quarterback. He needs to learn how to play from the pocket. I said it about Dak Prescott as a Cowboys fan when his career started. Give me 3 good years. You give me 3 good years, you're a franchise quarterback. You can't give me 3 good years, or at least have 2 of the 3 years be very good years. You're not a franchise quarterback in my book. It's that simple. I'm not giving you 7 years, $280 million if you can't give me 2 out of your first 3 years, have them be good. I won't do it. So I can't wait. Whenever they get knocked out of the playoffs, because I don't think they're getting out. If they get past the first round, we'll dive into picks, in a little bit. But whenever they're knocked out of the playoffs, I think Philadelphia is going to be more of a shit show, and I also mean people eating shit like they did when they won the Super Bowl. I think it's going to look crazier in Philadelphia than it did when they won the Super Bowl. Can't wait.
Wow.
Bart Scott voice. Can't wait.
Can't wait. So is it? I mean, since we're starting here, practically talked about most of it already. I mean, I'm just saying, don't count Tampa out of this game. They got big playmakers themselves. Baker Mayfield's got a little something to prove. Still got that chip on his shoulder. Mike Evans is an absolute beast. Can the defense show up and stop Jalen Hurts? And I think that is your ball game right there. If Philly's defense shows up and Tampa doesn't put points on the board, I think Tampa's going to have to put up minimum 30 probably to win this game. Like, I don't see this as a defensive struggle, and if I do, I think the Eagles win.
Look, I'll say this, right? And I think the most important thing to look at with Philly is offensively and defensively, they have had problems for the last 6 weeks. So the last month and a half, they went 1-5. And they've struggled on both the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. Their play calling has been questionable on both sides of the ball. When you look at this game, though, I saw this. I heard this quote the other day. I had never heard this quote before, but apparently it was a Jimmy Johnson quote when he was back coaching the Cowboys. And he said the big games like in the playoffs don't actually boil down to who can make more big plays. It boils down to who can make less big mistakes. And I have to believe that when you look at this game, Tampa Bay is more likely to make bigger mistakes than Philadelphia will. Because Philadelphia will play the game the way they played Miami, the way they played Buffalo, the way they played Kansas City. They don't mind not being in a shootout. They will just play field position, and they will try to wear you down. And when you have more talent than the other team, that's going to get you the win. So not to... Yeah, I mean, we might as well pick the game, right? Like we're talking about. Like, so I'm taking Philly to win. I do think it's a close game, but Baker Mayfield, outside of the one time he beat the Steelers in the playoffs when he was on the Browns, he really has never given me a reason to believe in him. So I got to take Philly and just say I'm just going to take the better team. That's really what it is.
Yeah, I'm as much as I've talked up Tampa here, when it comes down to brass tacks, if I'm putting my money on it, I got to put my money on the Eagles. I hate to say it because I'm rooting against them. I 100% am rooting, and I won't put any money on this game because of it, because I won't bet on them either. But at the same point, I just look at this game, and especially in prime time on Monday night, those games tend to run a little bit tighter, tend to be a little bit more, defense. Like, Philly's a better team. On paper, they should go in there and wipe the floor with this Tampa team. And whether they do it or not's a different story. But yeah, Philly should win this game.
So, quick question, right?
And
we can move on to the next games. I mean, we've got literally freaking 14 games or something like, or no, 2, 5,
7. 14 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah, so you got 2 games Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 Monday. So you got 6. You got 6 total games. Yeah, because you got the 2 teams with the buys. Right. Okay. So
I'm an idiot.
If there's one thing, it's a Wednesday night, man. We're halfway through the week. We're toughing this out here. If there is one thing that I think is interesting, and if I had to ask, if I was a Philly fan, let's say they win the game, right? But let's say they win the game 13-10. They struggle all game. And they're just lucky that they're playing a not like Tampa took advantage of a crappy division. Like, let's be honest here, right? Like,
the only thing I'm going to give them credit for is they finished above 500. That's the only thing you can give them credit for. But at least they finished 9-8.
Yeah,
it makes it a little bit more palatable to swallow.
And you had another team in your division go 9-8, and then you had 7-10, and then you got the Panthers who just don't deserve any breath. So, but like, if you're a Philly fan and you win this game, but you win like 13-10 and it is ugly, can you imagine how upset they're still going to be?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no, they're a hard fan base to make happy.
They really are.
I'm going to be honest. They're as much as like I'm a Yankee fan and it's hard to make, like, it's really hard to make Philly fans happy.
Yeah, but Yankee fans are hard to make happy because they've had so many experiences of success. Philly fans are hard to make happy just because they're Philly fans. I mean, I don't care who you are, right? The 76ers have been a consistent playoff team for a couple years now, yet 76ers fans are pissed. They suck. They can't get rid of Embiid. You can't make the championship. You can't win a championship. Get rid of Embiid. Get rid of this. Do that. Do this. Phillies fans, I mean, I'm not even a baseball guy, and I know Phillies fans freak the hell out. And you're like, they play in a division with the Braves, who have been one of the most consistent teams over the last, 5 years? Like, and they're still pissed. Like,
5 years to 30.
All right, well,
or better. I mean, you figure they're run through the 90s. I mean, the Braves have been a good team for a long time. They have very few down years too. The Braves where they've been in the bottom.
I do remember the 90s with that pitching staff and some of the things they were able to do, but. It's one of those things. Philly fans are just, you can't make them happy. I mean, even Flyers fans are miserable human beings, but the Flyers really haven't been good since, Eric Lindros used to play?
Yeah.
Remember the defenseman? He was a monster. But anyway, so yeah, I just think it's going to be funny because I think Philly wins this game, but I think they win ugly, and they basically stumble into the second round, and whoever they get in the second round, which odds, there's a good chance it's going to be San Francisco. But San Francisco does get the lowest seed left, and, to kind of segue into, the other games that we have. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do the 4 or 5 matchup in the AFC? We can bounce back and forth.
We could do that. But just to go last point on the Philly thing, I 100% agree with you of your point earlier where regardless of if they win this first round, they could win it big. They lose in the second round, they're still calling for Sirianni's shop.
Oh God,
they're still calling for it. So that's where I'm with you because they can make it probably to the NFC Championship game, and they're still going to call for Sirianni's head.
Well, let's hope they don't make it there because I don't want to see them win a single game for the rest of the year and just want to watch them mope and complain about their team for the rest of the year. So, but yeah, no. If we look at the 4 or 5 matchup,
this is a game that makes you want to cry.
It's funny, though, because each team has some entertaining aspects to it. When you look at this Cleveland-Houston matchup, I mean, C.J. Stroud has been entertaining to watch this year.
In my opinion, I know he got hurt, but up until that injury, he was Rookie of the Year.
100%.
Rookie of the Year. I mean, he was outplaying not only rookies, but a lot of really good veterans in this league as well. And that's where I look at it and I'm like, man, he's the real deal. And then you added a guy like Will Anderson. They added 2 unbelievable talents on offense and defense in the first round last year. And they're going to be good for a while. And especially because if you could get a guy on his rookie contract that good, you've got money to put in other places because he's on a structured rookie deal for 5 years. Yep. You got him for 5. Yep. That is a 5-year window of you can have some real success. And it's been a while since the Texans have had success. I'm actually a big fan of it because I like D'Amico Ryans, former Bama guy, underneath Nick Saban, who unfortunately, just segue into this, we got the news earlier that Saban's deciding to retire after 17 years at Alabama, and I got to tell you, it breaks my heart.
Honestly, after we wrap up our segment, if you added to this doing like a memoriam, right? That's what they call it, right? Like, in the arms of an angel.
I got a and I want to throw out a couple people too that I think that Bama could go after, or that may be really interested in Bama given their current situation. So we can get to that later. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of D'Amico Ryans. I really, really like what Houston did this year in the draft. I haven't been as high on Cleveland, but they've overcome, I got to be honest, a lot this year. Would they have
So
three or
much.
four different starting quarterbacks? I know they were
Flacco's their fourth different starting quarterback.
Fourth.
A lot of people also forget Nick Chubb broke his leg in week 3.
And then
Ruined my
Ford came out of
fantasy
nowhere.
season, but that's a different. Yeah, Ford comes
Ford
out of
came
nowhere.
out because you would think Kareem Hunt was going to be the guy that was going to pick up the slack, and then maybe no. Ford took that ball and ran with it and still hasn't stopped.
No,
But,
and Kareem Hunt's had a nose for the end zone for him in those short and goal to go situations.
And every time you think that AFC North is down, they come like 3 teams. They got 3 in.
3 in, all 4 above 500. First time since 1930. A division had all teams finish above 500. Now, keep in mind, 1930, they had like 8 teams.
That's impressive.
Like,
You have to be impressed.
Like since the Super Bowl era in 1970, they're the first division ever to have all 4 teams finish above 500. It's crazy, especially when you think about they all got to play each other twice.
Yeah.
Right. Like that to me is where you really get crazy to think about that kind of combination. So
know what they get? They get a little applause. That's what they get.
So, we talk about this matchup, right? And we sit here and I agree, right? This is not this is going to be a crazy game, back and forth, up and down. Now it can be.
It can be.
I mean, we've seen and Amari Cooper's playing. So we've seen Flacco and Cooper really have some connection. I mean, the one game I think Cooper had like 11 catches, 200-something yards, 2 touchdowns. But what I think the most interesting part of this game is not only does the winner advance, I think the winner wins Coach of the Year. That, to me, is one of the most interesting aspects of this game.
I think you could be dead on with that because, again, with the amount of stuff that Cleveland has had to overcome in a really, really tough division to get to where they've got, and then Houston, you look at that 10-7 with a rookie QB leading the offense. They had one of their big play receivers, Tank Dell, who was also a rookie, go down. He was having a monster year.
Also hurt my fantasy experience this year.
Me too, but I mean that's
another podcast. Me and Eric are just gonna sit here handing each other tissues, just crying about our fantasy year.
Well, actually, I was in the 2 money leagues I was in. I won one of them. The other one I made the playoffs.
I'll pound you for that. Wait. Give yourself a round of applause. Gotta do it. There you go. You deserve that.
It was the one league I've been in. Other than the league I was in with you, that's the only other league. There are only 2 leagues I've ever been in that I didn't win. So at least I got knocked one of those off the bucket list. I gotta maybe find a way to get back into that other one and then win that too. But Cleveland, I'm looking at. They're a 2.5 point favorite. Should they be though? And that's where I want to take this conversation because if I'm Houston, I'm home. I won my division. I'm feeling a little disrespected. Now, I don't think Tampa should feel that same disrespect, even though they won their division. They're 9-8. I know it's only a game difference, but
you are who your record says you are.
Exactly.
Bill Parcells.
But 11-6, 10-7. So I guess that's why Cleveland's getting the edge. But to me, I like Houston at home.
I mean, you know me. I'm not a big betting guy, right? You automatically in the gambling world, you get 3 points right off the bat because you're the home team. So that really means that Vegas is saying Cleveland's a 5.5 point favorite.
Yeah.
Right? Like they expect Cleveland to win basically by a touchdown. So
if it was a neutral field, yeah.
Yeah. So like that I don't agree with. I don't think Cleveland's a touchdown better than this team. I think where Cleveland is going to have the edge. And look, Will Anderson, after the way he played against the Colts in Week 18 to help win that division, he might come out and prove me wrong when I make this statement. Myles Garrett this year was he was a man on a mission. He played out of his mind. He helped carry that defense. Another thing, I don't know if you might not have seen it. They announced today. Grant Delpit, the safety, he was having basically a Pro Bowl year to start the year before he got hurt. They activated him off of IR and he's practicing this week.
Okay.
So he has the potential to play. I don't know if he's going to start. Maybe they keep him on a quote unquote pitch count. That I don't know. But where I think the biggest difference lies is Cleveland's defense. And I think Cleveland's defense is going to, if there's a defense that's going to give their offense an extra opportunity, I think it's Cleveland's defense over Houston's. And that being the case, I'm going with Cleveland in this game, but I don't think this is a heavy blowout. I don't think either team would blow out the other team, but I'm going to take Cleveland and let's see, 2.5. I'd probably even give Cleveland, take Cleveland, giving the points.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going the other way. I'm taking Houston at home. I love what they've been able to do. I love their enthusiasm. I'm a big D'Amico Ryans guy. I love what CJ Stroud has been able to come in and do. I didn't have him as the best young QB coming into the draft, going into last year's draft, but he got put in the best situation.
Yeah.
And we always talk about with draft picks, especially, it's not where you pick. A lot of times it's who's picking, because a lot of teams you see over and over again get top 5 picks and are still in the bottom 5.
Oh God, sorry.
Are still in the bottom 5, but then you have teams like Houston who use them smartly and have now been able to turn themselves around with 2 what could be cornerstone guys for at least the next 5 years on cheap contracts.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna you can now build, you can now spend on the offensive line, you can now spend on the defensive line, you can now do things to shore up the trenches. And now you've got a serious contender because they have weapons on the outside. They've already proved it. Tank Dell, Collins, like those guys, they're good on the outside. Was it Singletary?
Yep, the running back.
Yeah,
yep.
He had a pretty decent year after what Pierce went down, right? Pierce was a starter, and then he went. So, I mean, they have talent. They have talent on both sides of the ball. I think they're young. I think they're hungry. Not that Joe Flacco isn't, but he ain't young.
No.
He might be hungry, but he ain't young.
Sad part is we're both older than Joe Flacco, but he ain't young when it comes to football.
No, he is not young when it comes to football, and I'm not young either, my friend. But
if I took one hit on a football field, I'd be in a hospital for 6 months. Easy 6 months. So actually, real quick, before we segue to our next game, interesting situation, right, with the Houston Texans. You talk about their future and what could be with what they have in place. Over the next 5 years, who do you think has a better opportunity? Not saying you think they could win a Super Bowl, but who do you think has a better opportunity to reach one or at least get close to one? Houston or Jacksonville? Because Jacksonville shit the bed this year. They started 8-3.
Honestly,
end the year at 9-8.
Honestly, I'm going with Houston. I think it's because they got the extra year. Lawrence is a year older. I just think that give me the extra time. So now, if you had to give me those 2 teams, I'm taking the longevity with the Texans. I think it could be a good match. Like, they could turn into the AFC South could turn into what the AFC North is. I mean, I think Indy's got to get better. But again, they had injuries. Anthony Richardson went down early for them, so we don't really know what he could be yet. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a fun division to watch. You're absolutely right. Jacksonville shit the bed, and there's no excuse for that. But at the same time, the Texans played their hearts out all year. They deserve to be there, and I think at home they're going to show up with some emotion. I don't know if they get past this super wild card weekend of whatever. I don't know if they get past that, but I think they get through it.
Yeah, it's that to me It's funny because I look at this round of the playoffs, Super Wildcard Weekend, and I feel like there's only one game that it's like, yeah, we know who's gonna win. So, like, with that in mind, I don't even think we really need to talk about the game. I think we'll both just agree, like, Buffalo is going to beat Pittsburgh in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and if they don't, there's something seriously wrong in Buffalo.
Oh, God. And those Buffalo Bills fans are faithful. They're love wild. Their team. Oh, there's some of the best fans out there.
Videos online?
Oh, yeah, jumping through tables. But I'll never forget, years ago, when Carson Palmer was still the quarterback of the Bengals, and they won that Week 17 game, and whoever the heck it was that they beat put Buffalo in the playoffs, and Bills Mafia ended up donating over like $2 million to Carson Palmer's charity.
They're good like that.
They're one of the best fan bases out there. They're lunatics, but they're one of the best fan bases out there. And look,
no, I'll agree with you on that part, but they are crazy. They're not Philly crazy. They're two different types of crazy, in my opinion.
They're entertaining crazy. Where Philly's like, you throw snowballs at Santa. you worship a fictional character that box. Like,
yeah,
the whole different fan base. And that again, that could be another podcast. But anyway, so I don't think that's a game that really requires talking about.
Not really, although I will give Mike Tomlin a ton of credit. Again, over 500. I mean, it doesn't matter what adversity he faces. And there were talks earlier this year. He's gone. He's this. He's that. It's over for him in Pitt.
The players aren't responding to him, and
everybody just needs to shut up.
Every year
he is good. And then did you hear also today? I mean, I don't think we're going to end up talking about them, but just because we're talking about guys who the word's out now that they're gone. But Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like,
but he apparently staying with the organization, but look.
Something.
He's 72 years old. Right, I don't know Pete Carroll that well. I only know that because they were actually talking about it on the radio on my ride home from work. So he's 72 years old. He's going to get some soft, cushy office job. He's probably going to have something to do with their scouting department or drafting, and like that. That's where he's going to be. Football operations, that type of stuff. But it blows my mind. You watch that man run up and down the sideline. I guarantee you, he'd beat me in a sprint.
Oh yeah.
I've never.
Well, it's
really
not
been
hard
a
to beat me in a sprint, though. To be honest with you. So that's not much to talk about. But I'm just saying, if you like guys like Carroll with the success they've had, or guys like Tomlin who never under 500, never a bad season, but yet, so he's always picking in the middle. He's always somewhere in the 10 to 25 range. He's always picking.
Yeah.
But guess what? He always makes those picks work. Doesn't matter if they're top 5 picks. He doesn't need top 5 picks. He turns other picks into So I just think that he needs to get a little bit more credit, and the people in the front office there in Pittsburgh need to get a little bit more credit. And people that were calling for his job earlier in the year just need to shut up.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're not going to get better than that right now.
Since they lost Big Ben, every single year we've talked about Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin. We're like, is this the year they go under 500? Is this it? Like. We're talking now, 5 years since Big Ben's retired?
At least.
And he still keeps going. Look, when you got a coach, and I saw somebody post this on Twitter when Steeler fans were like, oh, the players aren't, you got to get rid of them, the players aren't responding to him. And somebody wrote on Twitter, they're like, you realize if Mike Tomlin got fired today, there are 31 other teams in the NFL that would take him, including teams that have coaches that they like. Like, that's the type of thing Tomlin does for you. So, that type of stuff, that needs to stop. Like, that's just some nonsense. And it's an overreaction. There's no other way to put it. But they're in the playoffs. They're going to get eliminated in the first round. I'm sorry, Steelers fans. It's just the reality of the situation. There's nothing you can do about it. You just don't have enough talent, specifically at the quarterback position. You have no TJ Watt in this game, so your pass rush takes a hit there. Like, there's too many chips stacked against them to be able to go into Buffalo and win. I think they'll be competitive early, but Buffalo's going to wear them down at some point. So
if not, I got to be honest, end of Sean McDermott, I think. End of probably Stephon Diggs. I think he's out at that point. Year after year over the last 2 seasons, you've heard about his brother coming out and saying things. You've heard him come out and say a few things, although he's always quieted the flames a little bit. Still, that he wants to win.
Yeah.
And he left Minnesota because he wanted to go to Buffalo and win. And so I just don't know if he's back next year, if they collapse in the Super Wildcard Weekend.
I'll be honest with you. I think no matter what happens with Buffalo this season, I think Stephon Diggs is gone.
Yeah?
I think even if they went all the way and won a Super Bowl, I think Stephon Diggs is gone. He's reaching the tail end of his contract, which means he's getting more expensive. But yet he's getting older, and that's what kills NFL players. Your contract gets bigger, but your age gets bigger.
If he leaves there, though, just not to get too crazy off of the playoffs here, but where would he go? Like, do you see him trying to? Do you see his brother trying to recruit and say, "Hey, Jerry, I got this guy. He's pretty good. If you want to put him in the field."
The best part is Jerry's response.
Nice number 2.
Jerry's response would be, "Well, that contract we gave you last year, his money's going to come out of that. You still want your brother to come play here and stay?"
You can find another place.
Trayvon's going to be like, You know what, Jerry? We're good.
We're good.
We'll keep that sibling rivalry outside of locker room. We're good. So I saw this the other day, and I was kind of shocked. And I kind of actually, you know, I'm going to save this for the end of our talk about the playoffs, and it's probably something you've already seen, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for the end because it literally wraps up like every game. But this Kansas City Miami game. Can we talk about the fact that Miami shits the bed at home against Buffalo with a chance to win the division, take the number 2 seed?
Close game. So, I mean, at least they didn't get blown out.
They were at 14-7 with all the momentum on their side, and they don't score another point. And I don't even know if they had more than one first down in the second half. I could be wrong, but if I am, I'm only off by 1.
Yeah.
They did not do anything on offense.
No, Buffalo made some good adjustments.
They really did. And instead of being able to play in South Beach at home, they're going to Arrowhead Stadium
with the Swifties.
I'm so sick and tired of
Lorvis.
I almost want them to, like, they seem happy together, and I'm all for people being happy, but I may be rooting for that relationship to end. But that's another conversation for another day. But now they got to go to Kansas City and play in 8-degree weather with wind chills below 0. Like, could you imagine if I was like, hey, Eric, I'm going to take you on a trip, right? I'm going to take you on a trip. We're going to go to South Beach, Miami. But you got to the airport too late, so now we got to go to Kansas City, Missouri this time of year. How pissed would you be?
I'd be pissed, but that should have been the incentive for them to make some adjustments in the second half. I mean, third quarter, you get stymied. You should have came out in the fourth with a different plan. You could have came out in any other drive with a different plan. They didn't do it. They didn't make the adjustments when they needed to make the adjustments, and that's what Buffalo did. So it's their fault, but what I am going to say is I think, and I could be wrong, and if somebody out there fact checks me, then good for you, but I'm pretty sure, I don't think Miami's ever won a playoff game when it's been under 40 degrees outside. Is it under 40 or is it under 30? I can't remember which, but when it's cold out, Miami tends to not play so well, I believe. I, again, could be totally wrong. Maybe Dan Marino did something miraculous in the cold years ago, but I don't ever really remember seeing it. So I look at this game, and I think it's going to be really hard. You're going not only against Patrick Mahomes, who track record-wise over the last, 4 or 5 years, been probably your best quarterback in the NFL.
No doubt about it.
Even though, and that's even with losing a talent like Tyreek Hill, who for 3/4 of the season, people were talking about him in the MVP race.
2,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns.
I mean, unbelievable. And listen, he's an unbelievable player. But guess what? Kansas City has found ways to, now granted, not great ways, but have found ways around it to stay winning and competitive. And a lot of that, yes, on Patrick Mahomes, because he's had to do with guys like Rice, guys like Valdez-Scantling and Juju Smith-Schuster, and he's had a variety of weapons. The one thing he's got is a solid backfield. In my opinion, he's got Pacheco, McKinnon coming out of the backfield. He could catch and do some things. He's special in space.
How much?
And they're used to playing in the cold.
How much do the last 2 Kansas City teams remind you of what they did to Brady in New England before they brought in Randy Moss? It was a whole bunch of no-name guys. I mean, Danny Amendola. First time I heard Danny Amendola's name was on Hard Knocks when the Cowboys were on there, and he was a undrafted free agent that got cut by the Cowboys, signs with the Patriots, and ends up having, 3 Pro Bowl seasons? Makes one of the sickest catches I've ever seen in the Super Bowl against Atlanta, that when they came back by 28-3. They're doing that to Mahomes. The difference is right now, and you see it in their record and why they're the 3 seed, it's going to be, if they win, it'll be Mahomes, wherever they got to travel, it'll be Mahomes' first career playoff game on the road.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Literally insane to think about. It'll be his first career playoff game on the road.
For him, though, do you think he's a little bit bitter, though? Because he's probably like, I wanted to play in Miami. Why couldn't we just flip the weather? Why couldn't we just? But again, I think that it goes to the home field advantage, Arrowhead. I think that they do have the advantage there in the cold. But if there's one time, if you're gonna have to go on the road once in the playoffs,
Miami's not
You
a
want
bad place.
you want it to kind of be a place like Miami. Instead, they're coming to you, and I think that's what's going to end up hurting Miami in the long run. They've stumbled down the stretch. Kansas City has looked good at times, not looked good at other times. They've had a lot of problems with drops, but in the end, and you know me, I'm a big Bama guy. Tua, Waddle, Hill, those guys, they're Achan, like they're unbelievable. Mozart, although I think he's hurt, isn't he? Like
He might play. I don't know for
but either
sure.
way, I'm just saying they got a ton of talent, and I love it. But I don't think they can go to Kansas City in the cold in Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes. They got to prove to me they can. Nobody's been able to really do it so far. I think other than Burrow and the Bengals. Miami can. It's put up or shut up time, and last week it was put up or shut up time, and they shut up. So you got round 2 at it. I think they're going to end up getting shut up again. Unfortunately, I don't think their defense is on par. Where I think Kansas City's defense is going to make enough stops at home behind that home crowd, and I'm taking Kansas City at home.
So what I think, talking about going to Miami, I just want to throw this out. Pretty sure Taylor Swift and Mahomes' wife would have preferred going to Miami as well, if we're being honest.
Everybody would have preferred going to Miami.
Honest, could you imagine the social media crap that would have popped up from that trip? But I'm gonna throw you for one here. I'm taking Miami.
Listen, I'm all for it.
I think Kansas City has been very, very inconsistent this year. Their offensive line's been inconsistent. Their receivers have been beyond inconsistent. Nobody on their wide receiver core scares any defense. So defenses double team Kelsey and say, you make somebody else beat us. We're going to play the run. And I agree that kid, their running back, Pacheco, that kid. And also, I mean, I didn't go there, but always going to shout out somebody that went to Rutgers because Jersey.
Yeah.
Let's go. So, love that kid. Only time I didn't root for him was when I went against him in the fantasy playoffs and he went off for like 35 points. So, cool. But anyway, I'm taking Miami. I think what's going to end up happening is Miami's pre-snap motion and ability to run the ball is going to take the crowd out of it and slowly give Miami enough of a lead that Kansas City is not going to be able to come back. So I'm taking Miami on the road. I think
this game, I'm going to really quick just equate it in my brain to you so you know what I'm thinking about when I think about this game. This, to me, is the Devils Rangers. So, like, the KC is the Rangers, Miami's the Devils, and you know what? I'm rooting for the Rangers, but I'm not going to be upset if the Devils win. I'm just going to enjoy the game because, to me, this has a lot of talent. A lot of people should have eyes on this game, and to me, that's what it is. This is Devils Rangers in my mind where... Yeah, I picked Kansas City, but I'm not going to be disappointed if Miami wins. I'm actually going to be happy for Miami.
You know who's going to talk about being disappointed, or maybe I should say pissed off? If you don't have Peacock, you can't watch this game. How?
Hold on.
If you don't have Peacock, you can't watch this game. To think about that and realize how messed up that is. Now, I'm lucky enough, Amanda, my girl, she has Peacock. So, we're going to be able to log in. I'll be able to watch the game. Life is good. But what about the bar scene? You think a bar owner is going to go purchase Peacock to stream it on his TVs for one night?
No.
And Peacock, I guarantee you, Peacock's not out there offering free trials this month.
No.
Guarantee you they're not doing it.
Definitely not.
You're gonna pay for at least 1 month of that service. They're gonna rack in millions of dollars. They paid the NFL $100. Are you ready for this? They paid the NFL $110 million just for this game.
Wow.
110 million.
That's insane.
So, real winners, no matter who wins the game,
the NFL.
Real winners, NBC, who owns Peacock, and the NFL. Yeah.
The real winner, and it's something you haven't heard me say in a while, is the Shield. Because nothing stops the Shield, nothing beats the Shield. It's like the Wiz. Nobody beats him.
Oh my God! Remember the Wiz? Oh my God!
That's how old we are. That's how old we are, as we remember the Wiz.
And the Wiz didn't exist when Pete Carroll was born. He'll still beat both of us in a race. So that covers our AFC, right? So
pretty much, yeah. I think we already covered Eagles Tampa too, so I think we're down to the last two. We're down, and to be honest, I'm going to save yours for last.
I know you're going to save mine
saving that for last.
I know that.
In the meantime, we have the Rams in Detroit. And with the Rams in Detroit, I am looking at this game, and there's so many storylines. It's the one thing that the NFL loves is storylines.
Yep.
All about the storylines. This game has the most of any game this week. I don't care what game you're talking about, because you have the Stafford trade where you have Goff for Stafford.
Yep.
You have, just...
That alone. You have two franchise quarterbacks. Now, if I had to choose one, I'm going to take Stafford. I think he's an overall better quarterback.
I think they're the same. Like I know that's weird to say, but
just got that stronger arm. Like think about his days in the prime with Calvin. Dude, he could throw a 70-yard bomb to Calvin. But I don't think Jared Goff ever threw a 70-yard bomb in his life.
No, but I think it's also the talent around him, because Cooper Kupp. You have Puka Nacua. You have, so he's got some talent. But then you look at what Goff's got and why the Goff stats are the way they are. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Porta might not
although
play.
He may not play, and that's a big injury.
Big injury. That hurts. That's when the people that believe, hey, you take the rest over the momentum, that's where those people win that argument, right? Yep. You lose a guy like Porter, that hurts. Big time, and that kid was lights out all year long. It was good to see, and I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, I know there's some drama about the Cowboy Lions game that happened a couple weeks ago, and if there was ever a time where I was almost happy I wasn't doing the Tuesday show I do with you, it was then, because I'm pretty sure you would have went one way and I would have went the other way, and we would have had a match. But
although there are times that surprise you.
That is true. There
are times where you and Mike have talked and have literally been like, "Oh man, this is gonna fire him up. We're gonna have," and then you say it to me, and it's like, womp, 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 womp.
So look, I look at this game, and I think, out of all of the games this Super Wildcard Weekend, out of all the games, I think this game is the most evenly matched.
Super Wildcard Weekend!
He was so happy to do that. That was awesome. So, would you agree? When it comes down to talent on the rosters, coaching, everything, I think this is probably the most evenly matched matchup for this weekend.
Yes, although I would give the edge in coaching to the guy who won the Super Bowl, at least.
Agreed.
So, I'll give them that slight edge. Outside of that, talent-wise, yeah, I think it's a toss-up. You look at it offensively, maybe ever so, I can't even call that. Defense, there's no Aaron Donald on the other side of the ball, but they do have Hutchinson. They do have a defense. So I'm not going to... It is very, very... It might be the most evenly matched game of all these games outside. Although, to be honest,
yes,
it's a pretty even playing field across the board, I think.
Outside of the one game that we just blew past.
Yeah.
And if you're an Eagles fan, yes, we literally just said it's a pretty evenly matched game between you and Tampa Bay. So, I look at this game, and you kind of just touched on it, right? I think this game boils down to coaching. There's going to be a lot of emotions, though, for Stafford going back to Detroit, especially it being Detroit's first time hosting a playoff game in 30 years.
Yep.
Right? That stadium is going to be louder than it ever has been before. 30 years since this team has hosted a playoff game. Now, as a Cowboys fan, I'm upset about 28 years since winning a Super Bowl. So to sit here and think 30 years without even seeing your team be home for a playoff game is pretty mind-blowing. Just 2 years ago, Dallas hosted a playoff game. They got knocked out by San Francisco, and I'm still, I have nightmares about it. But either way, let's have our last play be Ezekiel Elliott's playing center. Anyway. Oh, no, that was last year. Sorry, my apologies. 2 years in a row I've watched them beat us. Oh, my God. Anyway, but I look at this game.
Could be 3.
Hey, if Dallas has to play San Francisco, it's in the NFC Championship game. At least they get that freaking monkey off their back and make it there. Let's get out of the division. Let's beat Green Bay, and I'm going to talk about my thoughts on that game. And before you ask, I'm going to pick Dallas, but I have opinions on that game. The Rams, Detroit's going to boil down to coaching, and you said it before. The slight edge there is the guy that has the experience and the guy that's actually won a Super Bowl, and is the reason why I think Dallas's divisional game, if they beat Green Bay, is actually going to be against Philly, because I think the Rams go into Detroit and come out with a win, which means San Francisco would play the Rams, Dallas would play Philly, and the divisional round would be a true divisional round in the NFC.
So you're going with the Rams?
I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going the other way.
Okay.
And I'm going the other way for the exact reason that you just talked about. And what I just talked about is they've already won a Super Bowl. Like, McVay's won a Super Bowl. Stafford's won his Super Bowl. They're just hungrier in Detroit. They're the tryhards. They're the eternal tryhards. Not only that, they tried so hard they ended up 12-5 this year. And the fact that they ended up 12-5, won the division, really had the best year you've probably seen them have since I can't remember.
30 years ago. Well, actually, they did go to Dallas. They did make a wild card round.
When Megatron back in the day?
I think so, because they play. Remember the tight end Pettigrew on Detroit?
Yeah.
When they had him, they went to Dallas and they lost, and that was another controversial experience for Detroit fans, and they can just get over it.
They can get over it. But again, this team is going to come out, and as we've said for years now, as we've been doing this together, they are the tryhards. There is never going to be a game where they try harder than their first home game in 30 years in the playoffs. Guess what? Stafford, he's coming back there. That crowd is going to be all over him.
Yeah.
McVay already won his Super Bowl.
Do they do like a little dedication thing for him?
No.
To start the game?
If I'm the owner or if I'm the GM, no, we're not doing anything special for a guy that wanted to get out of here.
Fair.
Sorry.
Fair.
I'm sorry.
No, I think that's fair.
He had nothing. He had absolutely nothing to do other than the fact that we got Goff back and whatever.
But what about playing the head game? Get him a little emotional, a little tribute video.
I think you get him emotional by booing the ever living shit out of him by literally making him feel uncomfortable in his own skin. And I think that they could do that in Detroit. I think that this fan base is going to be fired up. I think this team of tryhards is going to be fired up. And because of that, there is no streak to break. You know me, I'm always saying don't bet against the streak. Well, there is no streak here. They've broken the streak.
Yeah.
And if they broke it, you know what? Let's take the next step and beat a former Super Bowl champion who just won a couple years ago. Let's beat them, cross that Matthew Stafford hurdle, shove his smushy face him into the grass a little bit, and get on to the second round and see what can happen there. Now, in divisional round, wild card, is that just the wild card round now?
Oh, yeah. It's only Super Wildcard Weekend. The divisional round, still just a divisional round. They just wanted to hype up Wildcard Weekend more. What I find funny, though, is that you talked about them being hungrier, and in Dan Campbell's opening press conference, he talked about biting people's kneecaps off. So I just, talk about a perfect play on words right there, my friend.
I'm telling you, they're chomping at the bit. They are dying to get to Sunday. And that's, again, 8:15 prime time.
Oh, yeah. That's the big game.
If you're not fired up for that as a Detroit player, to have the pride of at least, this is a team I'm on. We've never done this. Let's go out and make some Detroit sports history right here. Let's go out and grit, because winning just that game would be practically like winning the Super Bowl for this team. I mean, if they lose in the second round, it would all be gravy. After this game, it's all gravy.
Their fans will still be good. Because if you think about it, when was the last time a Detroit franchise even won anything? Whether it's the Lions, the Pistons, the Tigers.
Pistons early 2000s is the only thing. Or no, did the Tigers
I think the Red Wings maybe won a Stanley Cup. back in the early 2000s. But like you're still talking probably like 20 years since any of those franchises won anything.
No, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that we can actually look this up, but I'm going to disagree, and I'm going to say that either the Wings or the Tigers were the last to win because the Tigers won when they had Verlander.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it couldn't have been. It couldn't have been 20 years, but it could have been 10 years.
Okay.
It could be 10, 11, 12, maybe even pushing 13 or 14.
Just the city as a whole. There's definitely been a little bit of a drought there.
Exactly.
What I find really funny that I just thought about. So obviously, in the This Is Sports Zone podcast last night, we picked the games. Out of all the games that we've picked, and I've already told you I'm gonna take Dallas. Out of every single game, this is the only game I didn't pick the same. I picked Detroit last night. I just remembered that, and I don't know what to do with this one, right? Like because I'm trying to be honest with people here. Like I picked the same games across the board. I didn't even think about it. I just went with what my gut told me while we were sitting here talking about this game, and I went with the Rams.
I think different points were probably brought up tonight that weren't brought up last night, and that made you think. I think the point of Sean McVay being the being the better coach there might have swayed you a little bit into changing your mind. Now listen. How you want to handle that? If you want to stay consistent and take
I don't know. I don't know. Do I renege on you, or do I call Mike and be like, "Hey, I need to change my pick to the Rams"? Because I'm feeling really confident with my Rams pick right now. I don't know.
I think you got to switch it on the other show. Then I think you got to call and have a switch.
Look. I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to sleep on it tonight, and I'll make a final decision. Even the puppy wants a direct answer. Like, Dave, will you just pick one and stick with it? So I apologize, Pups, but. Yeah, I think this is not. I think this is literally going to be the best game of the weekend. Has the potential to be the best game of the weekend. And for right now, I'm gonna stick with my Rams pick. And then those that need to follow me, D Hastings 23 at Twitter. I'm sorry, at X now
at
or whatever
X.
it's called. Yeah, D Hastings 23. You can come holler at me. I'll post it on there who my real pick is, and we'll settle it. I'll make sure I'll tag Eric and our boy Fife out there that's listening. I'll make sure I tag him. I'll tag the This Is Sports Zone tag as well, so everybody can know I made a final pick. So, but
you got to pick a hill to die on. I mean, that's where you're at. You're gonna have to die on this hill.
I'm gonna sleep on it tonight. I mean, when it's all said and done, I got till Sunday at 8:00, but I won't do that because you got to man up.
I would just say I think you have until the kickoff of the first game
on Saturday. Okay,
like you can't be picking games as other games have happened.
Okay, so first game's like 4:00. I think it is 4:30. So we'll say I got till 4 p.m. Saturday to make a final decision. But yeah, so I am coming up on time though here.
Yeah,
so
no, we got one
gotta
game
get
left.
to the one that
it's near and dear to your heart. Which, to be honest, I'm gonna be flat out upfront. If I would be absolutely shocked if Dallas doesn't win this game by more than I would take Dallas given the 7.5. I would take Dallas all day, and you know why? Because Dak and Dallas are extremely good. Look it up. Extremely good when they're 6-point favorites or better. Like when they're more than a touchdown favorite, they practically blow every team. Don't ask me why, especially at home too. So give me Dallas all day, every day,
taking the points.
Now, and that's not taking anything away. That's not taking away anything from Green Bay either, because Green Bay deserves the recognition they got. Green Bay deserves to be there. They earned it.
Oh, they did.
But at the same time, they have the youngest offense in the league. They have Love, who's still on a rookie deal. I think they still owed Aaron Rodgers not owed him, but like there was a cap hit of like $40 million.
Yeah, them and the Jets.
Their entire offense costs outside of Jordan Love. I think the entire offense costs like $7.5 million.
Their skill position players,
the skill position
outside of Aaron Jones, because when he was out injured, somebody rolled that stat at.
They're the cheapest offense in the league.
Yeah,
the cheapest. And
they crushed this draft though. Every person they draft has been a contributor for them this year.
They've crushed the draft. They've crushed it without Aaron Rodgers, and we don't have to get into any of that nonsense because I don't want to get into any of that. But what I will say is it just shows you what a good organization Green Bay is.
Yep.
That they could go from guys like Bart Starr to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now to a guy even like Jordan Love, who did have what I think was a pretty good
He had an up
season
and down season, but
but
it'd be
as a
like 2-3
first year
games
as
in
a
a row were
full
really
starter,
good. Then he'd kind
yeah.
of dive down, and then I had him as my fantasy quarterback. So like his first 3 games of the year,
2-3
like
touchdowns a game.
I think he had 8 touchdowns, no picks, averaged like 260 yards a game. Then 4 games in a row, he was throwing 1 touchdown, 2 to 3 picks a game, barely breaking 250. Then he goes on another streak. Right now, they won 4 in a row going into the playoffs. He threw 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's averaging over 265 yards a game. Aaron Jones being back really has an impact on that offense. It's blatantly obvious how much different that offense is. Their defense has been better as the year's gone on. They haven't been great, but they've had some really good performances, some not so bad. So when I look at this game, and I said it before, I'm picking Dallas to win it, and the main reason for that, it's your go-to line. You don't bet against the streak. Dallas 16 and has won their last 16 games at home. They're 8-0 this year at home, averaging 39.6 points per game. So that means even if they have an off day, they're still probably breaking 24 without trying, right?
Easy.
But I look at this Green Bay team, and there's 2 things that give me fear. And ironically enough, I said this last night, and I heard it today on NFL Network from David Carr, right? That's old Texans quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So David Carr. They're the youngest team. That can hurt you, but it's also one of those, we're not even supposed to be here. Like, fuck it. Let's just go have some fun, right? So pressure can either be non-existent for them because they're just like, oh, we're not even supposed to be here. Let's just go play football and see what happens. Or at such a young age, first time all of them being there, they can make a lot of mistakes, right? You don't know which way it's going to go. But that potential. They have threats on the outside that Christian Watson, if he plays, he torched Dallas last year. He had over 170 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. Now, he was going up against Anthony Brown, who got cut. He should have been cut after that game, but he got cut at the end of the season. Dallas secondary is better than it was last year, but still, they can put up points. So what it tells me, and to go to that boxing analogy, they've got a puncher's chance. This is a game where if Dallas goes down early, they're in trouble. That stadium will get quiet, and all the little room, all those little noises, all those little comments, they choke in the playoffs, they fall apart. McCarthy can't beat the Packers. All those types of things are going to creep into people's heads. I'm not saying the players, and I'm not saying the coaches, but that fan base will get quiet quick. Now, if Dallas jumps out to like a 10-0 lead, Green Bay's done.
You sound like a woman scorned.
Because I am, damn it. What the hell?
But I'm just saying, like, that's what you sound like. You sound like a woman scored. But can you just appreciate they're 12-5, won the division, getting home games. They're playing good football. Like, you just put 8-0 this year at home.
Oh,
what,
yeah.
8-0, what, 8-0 last year at home, I'm guessing, if they're, like, won the last 16 in a row, 8-1 last year. Lost the first one, won the rest.
Yeah, they lost the first game, or they lost 1 game at home last year. Yeah, they lost 1 game at home last year, and then they had 8 other home games. They had the 9 home games and the 8 road games last year.
You don't bet against the streak. They are a good home team. They are really good when they are favored by 7.5 points. For whatever reason, Vegas seems to get that line right. They seem to get the Dallas line right, especially on games like this. So I don't know. To be honest, I don't know a single soul out there who would put money on Green Bay this weekend. And if you do, I think you're a fool. This is Dallas's game to win. Super Wildcard Weekend sounds like just the thing Dallas would win. And then next
Such
week,
a Jerry Jones thinks to have his team win.
and he can put up the big banner, Wildcard Weekend winner.
We haven't hung shit in 28 years. We're putting something up there.
But again, I think it goes to the point of the lines too. They're at home. I think they're going to be a little bit hungrier. I don't think they're going to want to get embarrassed by this Green Bay team. They have weapons. They have a good defense. There should be nothing that stops this team this week. Next week's a different story. We'll worry about next week. But Dallas should kick ass in this game. And that's coming from a guy who dislikes Dallas as much as he dislikes Philly. And where Philly, I'm going to say that's a toss-up. This game... This should be easy pickings. This should be easy money.
I look, woman scoring, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because the if I allow myself to strictly think football, right? I'm not a Cowboys fan. I have no emotional investment in this game. If I'm a football guy, all I think about is football, and that's it. There's no way I'd pick Green Bay to win this game. But I'm a Cowboys fan. I've been hurt plenty of times, specifically by Green Bay. But I will say I do agree Dallas should win this game, and Dallas should win this game by at least a touchdown.
Tell me you're picking them at least. Tell me that this one should be as easy for you to pick as Buffalo.
I am picking Dallas to win this game. I'm not. I don't have a hesitation to it. The nerves, the concern is the fan part of me, not the hey. When you look at these two teams and how they've played over a 17-game season, they're not even close to each other. And when you look at the talent, you look at the experience, you look at all the only area that Green Bay is equal, if not better than Dallas, is with LaFleur and McCarthy. Like LaFleur, I mean, McCarthy's been in his bag calling this offense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But LaFleur is a very good head coach, and there's a reason Green Bay replaced McCarthy with him. So I do think LaFleur and McCarthy are about neck and neck, and you could probably go 1A, 1B, but I would probably, LaFleur's a little bit more of that younger coach, so the way the league's trended recently, you kind of want to lean that way. But McCarthy really has changed the style of coaching that he does. He's taken analytics into consideration when he makes his game plan and all that. Like, defensively, I mean, you look at Green Bay and you got Jari Alexander and who, right? Like, you look at Dallas, they've got guys on all three levels that have played.
They may have the best guy in all of football, in a lot of people's opinion.
11 games. 11 games. Micah Parsons hasn't drawn one holding call. Not even one that was declined. Not one holding call. So I'm saying they throw a flag for holding because they held Parsons, but Dallas intercepted the ball, so McCarthy declined it. No, not even declined holding calls. 11 games for a man that impacts the game the way he does to go 11 games. Like, I'm sorry. One of 4 players in NFL history to have over 100 pressures in a season. 11 of those 17 games he played, he didn't get a single holding call. Damn. Are you shitting me? That is a load of crap if I've ever seen one. And I'm not sitting here like I'm not some conspiracy theorist, right? Like, I'm not like, oh, the league has something against Micah Parsons or the refs have, like, I don't think that way. I think it's a poor job by the refs, but every NFL team can tell that story, right? There's not a team in this league that can be like, oh no, the refs called our games perfectly. Like that. Hell, I'll do a whole hour with you talking about referee. I think we can get one fan from every fan base, and they each could do an hour complaining about the calls that were blown. Get Detroit in here and let me and a Detroit fan go back and forth about just the game Dallas and Detroit played 2-3 weeks ago, right? Like, so taking Dallas, I do think Green Bay's got a puncher's chance. I think Dallas is in trouble if they give up an early lead. And I'm not saying a touchdown lead. I'm saying, like, they get down by 2 scores. I think Dallas could end up in a little bit of trouble. But I do think Dallas wins the game, and I do think Dallas should win by a minimum of a touchdown. So now that we finished, I got to read this for you.
Do it.
The first round of the playoffs features Stafford versus the Lions, Goff against the Rams, Tyreek Hill against the Chiefs, Texans versus the team they traded Deshaun Watson to, McCarthy versus the Packers, and Baker Mayfield potentially ending the Philadelphia Eagles season. And it's the picture, the meme of Chris Pratt. Everybody knows that meme, so we don't need any cameras or anything like that. Yeah. Everybody knows that meme where he's on, I think Parks and Rec was the show.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Super Wildcard Weekend, honestly, outside of that Buffalo Pittsburgh game, I think is going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And the NFL knows it too. That's why Buffalo Pittsburgh are playing the 1:00 slot on Sunday. So.
Super Wildcard Weekend.
And that's that. That's what I got for you, my friend.
Well,
and,
listen, till the second round, then we'll see how these do. We'll see how our picks do. You got to give us an official pick on that Rams Detroit game, but that's the only one. Other than that, I'm taking Houston. You're taking Cleveland. I'm taking Kansas City. You're taking Miami. Everybody on the planet's taking Buffalo. Everybody on the planet's taking Dallas. I'm going with Detroit. You're back and forth still. We're gonna get an official.
I will. I'm gonna text Mike and double check and be like, "Hey, did I pick Detroit or the Rams? Let me know when you get a chance. If it's the Rams, I'll let you know so we could just stick with the Rams. If it's Detroit, then I got a decision to make before 4 o'clock on Saturday.
All right, and then we both got Philly.
Yeah.
So we what do we got? Two different games, possibly three, depending on the Rams game. So listen, got a differencing of opinions here. That's what we always want on this show. That's why it's called to die on this hill, because you're coming here, you got to come with an opinion. I'm not here to give you news. I'm here to give you an opinion.
Let's go, baby. You can read the news on your own. Find your time.
Exactly. Couldn't have asked for a better first show host with me. Appreciate you as always, my friend. And thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to doing it again real soon. Hopefully next week, come back and we do round two.
I'm hoping for that too. And thankfully, it looks like next week could be a little bit more of a lax week for me. So might be even easier for me to get here with you. And preferably a little bit earlier, because by the time I'm home, shit, I got to be up at 6 a.m. to drive to Allentown, PA in the morning for being there by 8:30. So that's why I got to run. Happy to be here, man. Always fun. And if I know we don't have beers with us, but I would like to take some waters and cheers you, because if there's one thing I know, our dads are upstairs drinking a beer, enjoying this, and making them very happy. So if it wasn't for those two guys, we never would have met each other, even though we grew up in the same town our whole lives. So just wanted to mention them and
always
be
grateful.
thankful that they brought us together, my friend. And
absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Till next time, come back, get ready to die on this hill with us.
Always.
All right.